Okay, there we go.
Cash, did you sign that disclaimer about her recording your stuff? You're okay with that?
Yeah.
Not,
Oh yeah.
All right, good.
So we start out and, we have a CAD file, right? So it's a DWG, it doesn't have a spatial reference. The important part is just knowing what coordinate system that was created in. And obviously you guys have been working in CADME and it's created in the same native coordinate system as all of the data here in the parcel fabric state frame. So we know that part, which is really good. So we'll go ahead and add the DWG here. And you'll notice it'll say unknown spatial reference. The following data sources you added are missing spatial reference information. This data can be drawn in ArcMap but cannot be projected. So it'll float out in space somewhere. It's not going to land right where it should. Here are all the layers. So you can add the whole group layer, but I only like to add the polylines. So I'm going to go back and just add only the polylines in from that CAD file. Same error. And then, so here we go. So if we zoom, one important thing too, before you zoom to your CAD data, just to save some scrolling, and ArcMap can freeze, and depending on how many layers you have turned on and all that good stuff, you don't want to bog your system down or have ArcMap crash. Go ahead and create a bookmark for like your workspace where you're going to be actually aligning the data. So I did that, and it's just called CAD DWG for subdivision, which that's the bookmark there. Okay, so first thing is we want to go ahead and zoom to the CAD file. Okay, so if you look down here, the numbers are a lot different. If we were to go right back to where we were, you see the difference in, obviously. Yeah.
So he drafted that somewhere in 10,000 out. Just a nice little spot.
Sure. So then right click up here and turn on your georeferencing toolbar. I have it turned on already. You can either turn it on there by right clicking, or you can just go to customize toolbars and then turn on your georeferencing tool there. And drop this down and make sure that that's the correct one selected. It's the only one, so that is selected already. We want to create control points, but before we do that, and these are not the same control points, we'll get into that shortly, so drop the georeferencing down and we want to fit that to display. So choose fit to display, and then it'll fit right there. We'll fix this. Next, we want to create control points. These are not the same control points as your control points that you guys will not be editing, changing, modifying whatsoever, the geodetic things that you guys have, that are sacred, basically. These are just georeferencing control points to line up the data. So these will not be stored here at all. So it's temporary.
Why did that come in at such a different scale?
We just asked it to fit to display. You can, that's the thing about CAD data, is it'll come in at random scales, and then you just have to georeference and line it up with the existing with your existing parcel fabric.
Yeah, but if you have all if you have the world measurements in there, it's gonna pop right in place.
Yes.
Exactly.
So
This is only this way because it's local coordinates, and he has to do a georeference to snap it in. But if it had NAT 83 in there, it would just pop right in.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
For example,
so
yesterday okay, go ahead. Sorry.
This falls under the idea of if we go in and draw the boundary of the map and then take that boundary and export that DXF out into that CAD file, take this CAD drawing, match that up to that boundary that is going to be in the correct coordinate system, and then when we import it, all of this information is going to drop right into place.
Most
Correct.
likely, yes, including like you have to make sure that the spatial reference is also set on your CAD drawing. You can have a template of a CAD drawing like that at all times and to scale.
That's what Esmond and I were talking about, is having something that in CAD, when we're bringing it in, everything's going to be, if we do a little prep work in AutoCAD, then and with a template, when we bring it in, everything's going to be layered properly and
right.
taken care of. We hope we get to that stage.
Yeah. Yesterday we had an example for, I think, the transport team. They had their CAD drawing. It came right there and sat exactly where it should. So I think they have been using a template that matches their the GIS data directly. So if you have a template like that, when you edit your CAD drawing and add the lines and everything, and you bring it back in, it's going to sit exactly where it's supposed to be. So yeah, you can certainly have one template that you keep on using, all the time. And you can even probably take your entire parcel, the cadastral data set, and have it in a CAD drawing. And whenever you're editing, just go and chop that piece and use that for your further edits, and then bring it, and it'll sit straight where it's supposed to. Okay, so several things can be done on the CAD side.
I think probably about 20% of our maps currently, when they come in, are going to be on state plane so they're going to pop right into place without any kind of adjustment, but that's
Yeah.
only 20%.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead, Cash, with the remaining
Sure.
project?
So I'm going to go ahead and start editing and delete that boundary, and then go back to georeferencing. And when I georeference CAD data, I like to choose, not linear features, but different angles. So either these two or these two control points. And with CAD data, you only need 2 control points to line these up.
And that's because you don't want to turn it into like a 16th order polynomial where it looks like you've rubber sheeted the CAD data into like crazy shapes.
Exactly. Yeah, so we're going to look at our 2 point, which is over here. And
So Cash is doing a mouse scroll while he's in the tool. He doesn't
And
have.
he could actually turn on auto adjust.
yeah, you could do the auto adjust as well. It's a good point, Ted. This is the manual way if you have like a nasty area.
I mean, auto adjust this right now. He's got 2 points to find. If he had auto adjust checked, it would have already snapped out.
Yeah. Then the goal here is to create a world file to line the data up, and then we're going to create a projection on the data to permanently have it lined up. So we dropped our 2 control points, and then we're just going to click Update Georeferencing. And now it's going to say, okay, this is the world file, and it needs to be saved in the same directory as the CAD data, the CAD file itself. So I believe the CAD data was in here. It wasn't here, but anyway, so we're going to save the world file in the same directory, and then come down and hit refresh. So those are bad control points because that did not line up very well. Looks like maybe this is going, that's the street, so that's the corner that we need to line up. So let's do this. Let's undo. We have to go in and let's redo this real fast. And we're going to delete that file, that world file.
Well, all you have to do is just overwrite it.
Or we could just override it, yeah. Yeah, either way works fine.
You also, in that northwest or northeast corner up there, you have a 4 foot. You have 2 points that are about 4 feet apart. You got to make sure that when you're clicking on those, and we should have the same thing on the south side.
And there's also a way on the GeoRef toolbar. There's a way you guys can check for RMS error.
Let's go back.
You'll have to remove the world file because it kind of got associated with that.
You can go into the RMS table and if it's still showing up, and just delete the control points. But
Yeah,
Yeah, but with the world file, it's kind of already adjusted, so that's why.
that's
Yeah.
true. But to me, in my opinion, I think you don't do the georeferencing until you got it snapped in place. When it looks good, that's when you do update georeferencing. Because then you know it's working. Otherwise, you have to deal with this.
exactly. That's a good point. We add that back. There's our lines. So now the georeferencing is selected, and we want to go ahead and fit to display. And then drop our control points.
Another thing you can do in this also is you can use the magnifier window.
I
Zoom in
don't
on
know
the
if
data.
that's the one. Is that the point? It actually goes to the right. Is that right?
Go to the
points.
left point.
To the is
The
that
left
the
point?
correct point?
Yep.
Okay.
There should be 2 points there, and the one on the left is the one you want.
Okay. Okay, got it. There's 2 points in there. So close.
Yeah, it's two.
Okay.
There's a 4-foot offset there. We took some right away from this a long time ago.
Okay.
Now at this point in the corner should be good.
It's just 1
There
point
you
here.
go. Yeah.
So there's that. And update georeferencing here. And then we want to save the world file. And it does need to have the same exact name as the CAD file itself. So no need to rename it. And it needs to be in the same folder as well, just so you know. And then we can go ahead and hit refresh.
There you go.
That'll line it up there. So now, once that's lined up, we haven't joined this to the fabric yet, right? So one thing we can do is we can get rid of the old.
Just what we would, the next step what we would do, or before we started that, we would have made that alley historic so that we would still be able to see it. So delete might not be an option, but we have to move it in some kind of historical file, and I don't know if.
Okay.
So I think this is something I think we kind of discussed before. The parcels can be marked historic. The lines, I think you'll have to go and do something manually in order to make it. But is this right for you right now, what you see? Because at the alley, there is no specific parcel there. If you zoom closer, Cash, where the alley is.
Yeah, it's actually an opening of right of way. So the
Yeah.
right of way actually comes into that little finger.
Correct.
So what we'd probably, because it gets vacated on the map, so what we'd probably do is close off that opening at the street line, make that it's a parcel, then make that a historic parcel, and make the overall big parcel a historic parcel.
Okay. Well, he's made the overall parcel historic, so all he needs to do now is go and
create a quick parcel, draw a line between that connection point on the street, and then make that little finger a parcel, and then make that historic, and then I think we're good to go with the drafting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Cash, so what will happen is you'll have to go to the select the right of way parcel and then split that. See.
Or
Yeah.
auto-complete it. Auto-complete the polygon. Complete the polygon.
He will have to, because it's more like a parcel split right now after this, not that whole thing.
No. You need to fill that little sliver in.
Right.
A construct with an autocomplete where you just snap the two, you complete that, you just close that off. And if you use an autocomplete function, that whole little internal sliver will turn into a polygon. Right? If you go into create feature and you do instead of just a straight line, you're going to do an autocomplete kind of whatever the tool is.
No.
Because
for the autocomplete.
But that's actually that's a regular editing tool, not necessarily a parcel fabric editing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would create a plan for that, and then for this little sliver, I would create a plan and assign it to a plan, and then just use construction lines to build a parcel from it.
Could you split the parcel, subdivide it, like the right of way one, and that's how I think it gets handled. Because if you select the right of way parcel right out there outside, right click. Oh no, it's not selecting. So you have several things. So do you get your selection chip and you can switch over
Yeah.
to the.
So, so you want me just to create a parcel out of this?
Yeah,
Is what you-
it's
Okay.
already there in the sense you'll have to just subdivide it. So you right now your selection, maybe if you don't mind, I will request keyboard and mouse and I'll point the right exact parcel that you'll need to, you know, would your right of way parcel be this one?
No, that's the under. Well, yeah, I guess no, because that's
It's
right
not.
away was
Yeah.
probably it's a underlying map from that,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
it
correct.
might actually be way back even farther than that. It's
Correct. So let me see if
You
clicking
almost
here.
want to undo the historical, handle it before the other area becomes historical, and then connect it that way.
Yeah, I think so. Is it okay if we undo this for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Now that's where we are. Go to this
And
one
I like
again.
Caption's way. If you can turn around and create that as a document or a record, then you say vacate. My name of my document is the when you vacated it, maybe.
Yeah, we're not able to get to it. Was anything? Oh, was anything deleted here?
there was a record of survey. That record of survey had 2 parcels in it, and that parcel no longer looks like it exists in what got converted. But
Okay.
so it would be if we had some kind of historical layer, if that historical layer, you'd see another line coming from the end, the westerly end of that street, going southerly to the southerly property boundary.
Yeah, I think we found something by just dragging our mouse, and let me see which one exactly here. Okay, so there is 3. I think this is it. This is what we were looking for. Not
Yeah.
Yeah.
that one, but the other side. The other one is the full one, and then this one.
So the top one.
It happened about the same time as that RS is when that little right of way got dedicated. But
Okay.
I guess historically you could put it in that record of survey. That would be fine.
Right. Cash, is it okay to stop editing without saving?
Yeah, sure.
Is it
So
this
would that
one?
be like a lesson accept, Doug? That right of way, would that be like a lesson accept from that plan, from that parcel?
Yeah, it happened. There was a document that recorded right before that RS recorded. So that the record of survey was blessed by the city and to split that big lot into a smaller lot and a larger lot. And part of their conditions were giving it that little right of way. I have no idea what that right of way was for or the intent of it. A little 7-foot sliver coming back, but probably trying to get access to another split that they were going to do. But some of the stuff that goes on, we don't really understand. But
This shows the entire parcel as a new parcel here. And then that one
yeah,
also the same thing.
and that's
We don't see any, but maybe on your data it is different. But if you wanted to, we could actually.
we could. What I would do right now is I'd merge that in with that 4928 RS and just
Okay.
merge
And make it like a historic parcel together entirely.
historic parcel.
Okay.
You know, for what we're trying to do, we're going to have to work out some ways to get underlying lines cleaned up before we go in and draft on top of them. So this is more than anything what I was curious about.
Okay. So we just merged this portion with this.
Yes.
Okay. Cash, would you want to go ahead and.
Sure. So we just need to create a new parcel. You want to merge all of this together? Like,
Yeah. But
okay.
without
I don't know on the right side.
nope.
No, not the right of way, right?
Yeah, not
Well,
the right of way, just the sliver and the
just
log.
the sliver.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would just draft a new parcel for the sliver. And
Okay. Merge it.
yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to merge it because then if we merge it to this track, then it'll combine everything. So I would just create it as like its own new parcel. And I say parcel, but we would, change the type, the subtype as, right of way.
From right away to parcel.
Yeah, correct. Or yeah.
Yeah.
So for that, we can either use the existing plan, we can open this plan and construct from parent, or we could just create a new parcel. And for plan, let's call this, right of way. And this is just as an example, right?
Yeah.
Um,
We would probably name it some kind of right away vacation per map, such and such, and then
yeah.
I think
And
there's a
let's
doc.
look at your type. So your type would be, so we have parcel line right now. So for you guys, you would want it to be, let's see, we've got a few options. Right of way line. Yeah, I think it'd be right of way line.
It right away parcel lines where they touch the right of way are right of way lines, and parcel lines internal to subdivision are parcel lines, and so it's kind of confusing. In this case, these are parcel lines, but they're also right of way lines.
It's a right of way. Yeah. So the actual area is a right of way. So I would just go ahead and choose right of way line. Because you're going to have parcel lines that are going to be coincident with these as well. Because we're going to close this off.
Yes.
As a right of way. So, okay. We got a new parcel. All good. All right, so there's that. Then we want to build or keep it going.
Did you just digitize that, right?
Correct.
No, you just drafted that.
Don't, Ted.
Oh,
Very slow. Thin ice.
and here's where you can when with the right of ways, if you want to go ahead and do some parallel work, center line offsets, things like that. But yeah, keep and join. And yeah, we can just trace this. We'll change that to 5 feet. We don't need these line points right here. Then remove those. And you can see I chose the trace tool picked up the wrong point. So let's undo that. And I'm going to make those a little smaller just so that we can pick the correct points.
Or you can just readjust the reference scale.
Yeah, there we go. That as well. So, properties, and directory, away. All right, new parcel. I'm going to start on this end.
It didn't snap on the.
I didn't get the last one.
Yeah, the second one.
Second one.
Yep. Oh, you don't want to cross? Yep, it didn't snap to that one originally.
Good catch. Okay, so it's back to the point of beginning. Now we can go ahead and keep it join. And then we can mark that as historic as well. So keep it join. Horizontal fabric points. All right, let's do this. So we know the ones to the left are okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and join. Getting the attributes. Now we wanted to go ahead and mark this as historic. That's going to be in your standard attributes. Okay, so let's get this joined in first. And then historical. We have to mark it as historical. So our historical is a negative there. There we go. Now that's historic. And then our parcel, well, let's go and do this. We don't want to mark it historic over here. We only want the actual parcel. Or the
there's 3 polygons there. There you go. Select that. Yep.
That guy. And then we want to mark that one historic as well. So that's all good. Okay, so that's out of the way. So now that it's historic, that's great. So the next thing we want to do, let's go back and our CAD data, have we lined that up? We did. We've lined the CAD data up. That's good. I'm going to turn historic off just for, I'm going to save the edits. We can save the edits. Our CAD lines here. So now we need to define the projection for the CAD lines. You can either go to search, search for your tools, or if you're somebody that likes to drill down and navigate through the toolboxes, we can do it that way as well. And so I'm going to do the search, which is just called define projection. Or you can even type define and it'll pop up as well. So, and it'll be the second one because we're not dealing with the coverage. So it's in your data management tool. Projections and transformations. That's the same tool.
You could do that when you define the projection in the search box. There's 3 different ways you can link. 1 will be to the help doc, and 2 will actually take you right to the toolbox.
Yeah. So it's unknown still, and we will just choose our native coordinate system here. Say okay, and let that do its thing. Oh, before we define the projection, an important part here is we need to remove the lines first. So they need to be removed, or else you'll get an error. So let's remove the lines from the map, and then go ahead and.
Oh, why is that? Because it's locked or something, or?
Yeah, it does a schema lock. So I'm going to navigate to it. All right. So we got an error there, which is odd. So let's define that again. Define projection.
Did you add it back already?
That's why. So instead of going into the CAD file, you don't want to choose the single polyline, just choose the entire DWG itself. And that should fix that. And then let's click on the coordinate system. This should do the trick. Okay. So now that's lined up. So it's projected now. And so you'll notice it brought in, all these different layers that you don't want from the CAD data. So I'm just going to remove those and just keep the polylines. Get rid of everything else. So now that we have these in here, you can, delete, if you want to go and delete, let's turn off the parcels and lines. So in here, you can go and choose and delete whatever lines you want before you join this to the fabric. Because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of lines that you don't want. And with the topology rules, this is another thing where there's going to be some lines you'll want to delete and then some you want to keep. So I'm not sure, Doug, do you know off the bat if there's anything in this that you would want to delete?
You've got the easements that offset line from the right of way. It's about 6 foot north of, just following around the outside. There's electrical easements. That's an old easement there, but that's a question that we're going to have to, if we're trying to leave the easements into the parcel fabric, then all these lines are usable lines. If we're going to go back and create.
Yeah, so then we have, you could do that, but, or you could just copy these lines for now straight into the easement line layer.
Yeah, that you have easement line layer and easement polygon layer. That's something you can do for easements. Currently, your standard is that your parcels are there, just the complete entire parcels, and on the top of that, you have the easement lines. Correct? You don't. There's in your parcels, you don't have a separate, like subtype for easements. Correct?
No, it's when we draft easements in the Academy world, we draft them into an easement layer, and that easement layer is separated into something like 25 different easement layers, which I don't know if we're going to continue with that, or if it's just going to be an easement layer.
Right.
And then once we get the line work into the easement layer, then as we bring in stuff, are we going to create polygons with these easement lines and then have them attached to the fabric? I believe that's the future of what's going to happen.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a good idea to identify those easement lines and cache. Then you don't need to bring them in. Instead, just bring the ones that define the parcels, right? So, for example, if you looked at this and, sorry, I'm just trying to identify. I don't know here if you go to the properties, if they have been delineated like in a separate layer, if you go to symbology
I
and
think we asked them specifically to move them all into a single 0 layer, so they're probably not going to be defined as easements.
yeah, it doesn't seem like at least. But the other, so let me cancel this out because sometimes they use a different line type and all for easement. That's possibility.
But
This
you
is
Would
can
it
also
be,
just, can't you
from your
just
guys'
select,
experience, would it be easier to move these into some kind of easement line layer where they're in some kind of hold
yes,
pattern, or would it
yes.
be
yes.
easier
Yeah.
to?
I would personally, just based on the nature of the data, I'm looking at this, your boundary first, your entire outline first, or your roads first, however you want to do it. Either way, everything's going to be lined up. So when you join it to the parcel fabric, but I would recommend just doing the outer boundary of the subdivision first, or the track map. Sorry, Rita, let me pull that over.
Thank you.
Sure. So I would do the outline first and then go and do your road work first. So it's like doing it all by type, right? Since this is not already separated by type, it would be an easier workflow to go in and
Relayer stuff.
Yeah, and build it because your data is going to already be there. It's already lined up from the DWG. So then you can just go and copy and paste and update your template, your feature template with your symbology as you go. So you could do your outline first, then do your roads and easements next, and then go through and do your parcels last. And that way, it's just like a sort of like a easier checks and balances system, as opposed to copying and pasting all lines at the same time into the parcel fabric. Then what you would have to do is you would have to go. It would be similar. It'd be a similar process, but it would be more messy because then you would have to go and mess with the attributes on every single line.
But to me, it seems like you would go in and grab your easement lines, copy those into the easement line data set, and then delete them from this so that when you get to the point when you're populating the parcel, you're just looking at the parcel. You're just looking at the boundary. You do the boundary, you remove the easements first, you get them where they need to be, then you come back and handle the parcels.
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
Are we
I
going?
agree.
having a good layerization is important in CAD. When you bring CAD data from CAD, it's just easier. Right now, everything's on the same layer and everything's gotten the same color and everything. So,
And I
um,
think that would be part of the process in the auto when we're in AutoCAD.
mhm,
It's we're going to be the idea of getting it in the zero layer from the the engineer or surveyor
mhm.
is just so that they don't have all kinds of different standards. So we're getting one kind of thing. So it's in a zero layer. Then we put it into in AutoCAD. We put it into the layers that we want it to be put into, and then when we bring it in, it's going to come
It's easier,
in the
I think.
proper layer.
Yeah. I mean, again, the comfort level, it depends on the comfort level. If you're comfortable doing it in the same thing in GIS, you could do it in GIS. Or if you're
Okay.
comfortable doing it in the, AutoCAD, then that so be it. Then you can use
See,
AutoCAD
these
for
easements
fixing.
for this subdivision are pretty easy because they all appear to be offsets of either the right-of-way line or the outside exterior boundary line.
Mhm.
So going in and offsetting them and replacing them is not going to be a long process. It's when you get ones that are not offsets to something that you're going to head draft and traverse back in. That's when we don't want to do duplicate work if we
Yeah,
don't have to.
yeah.
So, Cash, was your recommendation to first get the outside boundary, right? But the outside boundary does already exist in the parcel fabric, or should we have to create a new, outside boundary for this?
Um, that's a really good question. So I would use the most current data and add this entire. I mean, I would use the most current data, but if the boundary is matching exactly to what's already, see, this will be all done on a new plan. So if
Yeah.
something gets marked historic or something changes with this plan and this starts to get broken up into other lots or merged or things like that, I would bring in everything.
Okay. So the
That's
outside
important.
boundary is something you will start off with now, right? So you will take the outside polygon and, um,
Yes. So we would create a new plan.
right. Okay.
Oh, and just another quick note here is that you see these overlaps around here, things like that. So with the topology rules, we'll have to revisit the topology. Haritha can explain on the topology side of things, but a lot of the overlaps and things like that. Now, another thing is once we copy and paste this to a new plan and we join this to the parcel fabric, it's going to automatically plannerize the lines for us. So we won't have to worry about plannerizing the lines. But with the topology rules, we'll still need to figure out how to handle things like this, like the overlaps and the misclosures, the dangles and overshots and undershoots. Which we can go and mitigate and fix, individually. So it's not that
A
bad.
lot of those overlaps that you're seeing in there are going to be cleared up because that line that's running around that's overlapping everything is an easement line. So
Okay.
if you took that offset and shifted that to the easement layer and copied it to the easement layer and then turned it off in here, then that would clear up a lot of what's going on.
Yeah.
Can think of like moving that entire CAD lines into the sketch lines and sketch points, right?
No, the
And
sketch thing we talked about, yeah.
and
And
then
then
you
doing
can clean
work
it up
there.
there and
Mhm.
bring just the ones that you need for parcel fabric. You can go back to the CAD drawing again
As
and
we
then bring the
as we get something clean enough, then we move it into the layer that we want to use it in from sketch layer to usable
right.
layer.
That's also one possibility. Yeah.
Yeah,
But Cash, what
I like
what
that idea because then we're not deleting data right away.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. So for the plan, we can start a plan for this. Let's just call this, sub. Okay. We'll right click on this and we'll click construction. And for the sake of saving time, so just to show you the process, we could do the outer boundary and then come and do the center lines and then come and do the easements and then come and do the parcels, but that would take a lot of time. So just for the sake of an example, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just thinking to select all for now to show you guys how easy and quick it is for this to happen. You'll need to use your standard editor up here for the copy. You want to right click and copy there. And then come over here to your new plan, the subplan. And then we want to, paste over here. And then right here, here's our default tolerance. You can always change that if you want, but we're just going to keep it the same, right? Let's say okay.
Yep.
So this is
it went
where
through and dropped all the points at all the angle points and BCs and ECs and intersections.
correct. Yes. And then you'll want to go and double check some of your bearings and distances and make sure they line up with the survey plan. So it saves you from having to draft all this from scratch. Again, your type, it was all brought in as the same type. So if you were to go and to select a certain, like your outer boundary, you could change that to your track line. Your roads, you could go and select those and change those to, all your types, you can go and change those if you wanted to do it this way. So this is just an example of bringing the whole thing in at once.
Yeah, that's
Let's try this process, complete the process. Can you go and check which ones are, and change them?
Yes. Let's see here. We could identify like the outer boundary. Let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
So polyline 88. Are you 88?
And at the moment, you have turned off the parcel fabric, like display. So if you turn it on, you'll be seeing things moving to the respective layers. I think, right? It's turned off. The lines layer is turned off at the top.
Yeah.
So, and also, you can probably unselect everything at the moment. So
And select all of this data and only select.
yeah, the ones that you're changing.
Okay.
Whatever.
Well.
I'm not gonna. I just want to see visually as they keep changing how things show up on the, on the screen too, on the map.
Yeah. So what I do is I join them first, and then I go and then change them.
Okay.
Or join them one feature by one feature. But since we just copy and pasted them all, we want to join them all. And then I'm looking for 88. If anybody sees 88 over here.
Can you sort it? Is it possible to sort it? Oh, that's the from field. It's not the ID field. Where is your ID field?
Okay, so no worries. We'll come back and we'll grab that, and we can change the type here in just a second. So what you want to do is we want to build and keep all current for all of these, because these are not historic right now. So we want to keep these all current. So it'll tell you right here the dangles and overshots. The following line paths were found as dangles or overshots and will be changed to dependent lines if you continue. So you can go and mitigate those as well. You can hit cancel right here, like 208 to 209. You can just go and mitigate those one by one, 208, 209. So let's assume there were no dangles and overshots, but you would go and you could just delete those if you wanted to, and that would fix the issue. So we'll go ahead and keep all current. Just say okay. So now it wants us to tie to the existing fabric. So we got to zoom in. We don't even need those lines really. So this is where we want to create our join links. And we're going to join this to the right because we have a line, the most edge right there. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to go like that. I'm trying to catch the most
On that, there's a whole bunch of lots on the north and south lines. Do we attach it to the parcel fact that each one of those lot lines? Is that how we're going to do this?
Say it again, Doug.
There's a whole bunch of parcels on the north side. So let's say there's 10 parcels adjoining on the north side. Do we hit each one of those points
These?
and join? Yeah.
No, it's going to automatically create line points for us there. So right
Okay.
here, it's going to create line points. So we won't. We're not going to tie these to these, since that would it would misalign the data and skew everything.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. So this is the trick.
Cash, would you be maybe it's better if you actually changed your reference scale, so that it's easier to work, because they're becoming like too big for you to look at, right? To
Yes, indeed.
go up all the way to the layers and yeah, right click and go to properties and go to general. Change your reference scale, maybe. I think, yeah, you can say none actually.
One and one, or just none?
Yeah, just leave it at none and see what if you like that. Yeah.
Interesting. So these are not. That's okay. We'll go. What we'll do is we'll go over here. This usually works fine. Oh, I see. It's going to be larger. Okay, so we'll use the direct. These are not actually linking for some reason. Oh. No, this link's fine. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, so for some reason it's not linking. Let's try the trace. Yeah, it doesn't even want to recognize. Is snapping turned on? Yeah, snapping's turned on. This is interesting. Yeah, it won't even let me trace. So let's cancel that. So for some reason, it was not allowing us to create the join link. So I'm going to cancel that altogether. We pasted all the lines. So yeah, we need to go through that again. We missed something there. I'm going to stop editing. No. All right, let's go back. Because usually that's not a problem. So parcel editor, start editing. Polyline, interesting. Is this the correct? Oh, that's the one that's undefined. Okay. So we brought in, that's why. So 1 second. We need the one that has a defined projection with it. Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. So we're going to go ahead and define the projection. The world file's there because it lined up. So sorry about that. So to define the projection, we want to remove this. Because again, there's no coordinate system. Yeah, so something happened there.
Yeah, we would have thought that after you define the projection, the file that got added here would have automatically been the projected one.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. If we did an undo or something, wonky happen. Okay.
Can you make sure this one has a projection?
Yeah.
No. Okay,
Oh,
then go bring it.
say
Add
again.
it.
What's that?
Add it again from the location if you.
So that's it right there. So the world file is definitely in there. We know that. And should be fine. Should be. Let me see if there's anything duplicate in there. So the PRJ is in there.
Okay, if the PRJ is in there, then that's what the projection is. Maybe it's just not showing up on the layer, but maybe overall on the CAD drawings it is available. So if you brought in the entire CAD drawing, you should be able to see it on the CAD drawing level, but not maybe inside.
Yeah. Is it bringing? You want me to bring in a whole DWG?
Yeah, see if you see it at that level.
Oh, I know what you mean. Bring it in. Bring it in. So it's saying undefined for the entire layer. That's bizarre.
Go to it didn't it was undefined on the entire layer.
Yeah, yeah. So let's check this out.
Okay, can you edit it there at that level up there
No.
at the CAD drawing level? Apply. Yeah, I'm not sure if it takes it or not, but let's. Okay, it did now.
Okay, so it did take the projection. That normally it automatically does it on the fly for you. So that was interesting. Okay. So let's go back to getting this data into the fabric. Select all. Well, let's create a plan. Let's go to construction. Select all. With the standard editor we want to copy. Over here we paste. Okay. So now they're copied, they're pasted. And then we just want to build and keep all current. Okay. Interesting. So for some reason, it's not allowing us to link to the fabric. Not at all. Okay, let's try a different strategy here. Let's do this. Cancel. Forget about that plan. About that. Clear selection. Let's turn this off. Let's just temporarily do something. Let's go and delete Okay, so this is all marked as historic. There's nothing here. Parcel's on. Delete this. No, not that one.
Cash, you already have them as historic, right?
Yeah, they're marked as historic, yeah.
Okay.
I'm just curious if it has something to do with, because this normally doesn't happen. Our plan directory, instruction, select all.
It's all going into the boundary line there. You see the template. You could technically like take each layer and put them in separate if you wanted to at this point instead of selecting everything, right?
Individually, yeah. Yeah. So we got that in, that's good. Fresh. I'll just build and keep all current. It was something to do with that existing parcel that was there. I'm going to look into that because that shouldn't happen. Normally I don't run into that issue ever. Some most point. Okay.
Is it
And
because
that's good.
that northeast corner up there's got that 4-foot little hangout point? It's not a rectangular.
Is that
Yeah.
where it connects or it shouldn't?
It connects back at that 4-foot point. That's where we tied it in because that's where the underlying line was. But it
Okay.
has this, that line projects out to the southeast corner of that northerly parcel.
Okay, perfect. So it's supposed to line up there. There's supposed to be that.
That's how that's supposed to look. It looks correct.
Okay, I was just making sure. I didn't want to go ahead and join. But yeah, once we join, then this is my favorite part. It's the hurry up and wait with ArcMap, but I'm sure it's the same in other programs. Does Cadme sort of have some lag time on some workflows?
It's we don't really have to attach it to anything once it's drafted. And just because it's line work, we're just tossing line work in.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go over here. This is Job data. I don't know what's faster, drafting or waiting for these to paste. It's should be moving a little faster than this, but yeah.
No worries, Cash. I think it's faster. No matter how you do it, it's still fast. This is still faster than drafting everything.
Okay, good. Uh, yeah, and it might just be, I'm sorry, go ahead.
At least in this case, we can do something else while we're attaching it. For drafting, we would be sitting there drafting.
Exactly. So this will maybe buy you some time to multitask while you wait for the stuff to paste in.
You give Eswin time to screw around, is what I'm saying.
As I always do. Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
So
It's a
while
good
it's
time.
doing while it's
I'm sorry.
doing that, I just wanted to say or ask Cash really, is this all of those points that you see up there, it's joining them all as well, or we have to do it again separately?
No, so it's going to join the points and the polylines all together collectively. Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll create line points, and it's going to automatically plannerize the points for us as well. So we don't have to go back and plannerize the lines, or we didn't have to do that prior. It'll do that naturally once we join that to the parcel fabric, which is really helpful. And then looking at this, thinking about it, it would be easier, or I would say faster, to do all of your types, at a time. So your track map boundary first, and then your roads, easements for second, or whichever order you'd like to do it in. Since it's quality data from CAD, and you guys will have access to the DWGs all the time, or is it just like an occasional thing, or you guys always have access?
We've been requesting maps at the time of recording for maybe about a year now, just kind of like anticipating this. So from now on, every single map that does record, we're going to request line work from them.
Oh, that'll
so
be
it's going to
so
go way faster. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And once we get it dialed in how we want it, then we can request a DXF of the line work on 0 layer, and we can request just the actual AutoCAD file. And if the AutoCAD file is clean and they have an easement layer and a centerline layer, then that'll just expedite the work of us cleaning it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody starts off with CAD, so that's good to, just you leverage that line work.
Absolutely. And then it just, because it'll save time, and the accuracy level will be equivalent to what you had, what was built in CAD. So there's sort of like a no question, as far as your data accuracy there. And then having to, go and draft all that from scratch would just, like you said, it would take a long time. Haritha, just while this waits, do you want to maybe go over any topology topics? I don't know if that's on today's agenda or not, but I'm trying to think of something we could go through while we wait on this, or review.
I think that we should probably let this go completely, but from this again, you're going to digitize, not digitize, sorry. You're going to get uh, the easements out of this line work, right? You're also
Correct.
going to be able to get the street center lines out of this. So those are the two things I can think of. So I would say once this is done, the other thing also I'm noticing is there's a lot of the easement information is already in here. So is that something that we would go and remove it and clean up? That's the other question.
Once
So
this is all attached to the parcel fabric,
mhm.
what our next step would be to make sure that it's on the right layer, like you said, center line and easement, and then we would go in and annotate whatever we wanted to annotate: street names, easement names, any kind of documents that are going on, or any kind of distances that we wanted to annotate on here. So the last step of this process would be our annotation once we relayered things.
Okay. Okay. So Cash, do you have an estimated time on how much this one's going to take?
It could take 10 or 15 minutes
10 or
for
15
all.
minutes. Okay.
Yeah,
Lata, are you on Map O2 machine?
Yes.
Okay. So while that's going on, let's go and check out a few things, what we did with your topology and so on. So let me switch to Lata as the presenter, and then once Cash is done, he can let us know, and then we'll come back and visit this. Does that make sense? Should we do that?
absolutely. Yeah,
Or
sure.
or does everybody want to take a break while this is going on? I think I'll make Lata the presenter, okay? And we'll also like to show you the document linking and those kind of things today, some examples we have tried out. So Lata, show your screen and then, okay. So what you see here, um, there are a lot of examples, and I think, Lata, you're showing just the ones that we populated for example, correct?
Yes. Let's go to a type point, right?
Yeah.
Let's go to a type point. Let me pan. Okay, this point. Do you want me to show the document linking?
Yeah.
Okay.
First of all, there's a couple of things, right? There is a setup change in your MXD. Your setup change is that you need to go to the type point layer itself, and this can be done like, once, and you don't need to do it again. But you have to set up the hyperlink field. Support hyperlinks using field hyperlink, and then comes so you go ahead, Lata.
Yeah, go to the display tab of the layer and then select a hyperlink. You have to check the box. Then you should be able to select the field that we want, which is hyperlink here. And then say OK. This will enable you to use this tool, which is hyperlink tool. You go there and that will, let's select this. That should enable you to open up
That
the document.
that one doesn't have hyperlink. Can you go to the
Right
records
now,
down?
yeah, right now it is not.
There's
But
a
I
few.
thought, I'll create. Let's go to this.
Okay.
You see this field is already populated. So you go there, see how it's changing to blue color. So you click there and that opens the document.
Okay. At the moment, TED is in the process of populating all of these, but it's on your production data, I think. It's not on the dev environment. Okay. So we have just, when we were checking how to populate this information, then we were actually coming up with a few examples. Now, Lata is going to show you one more example where
So
she's going to set it up, sort of,
yeah,
how that linking works. Right now, this is
so in
Mhm.
So basically, I'm going to be taking down Cadastral tomorrow from the dev environment. I'm going to kill all the versions, and I'm going to do this calculation because I have to do it for the map UAT geocortex stuff. Anyway, so right now we have a way to do it for legal points, track maps, parcel maps, record of survey, and traffic signals. We already got storm and sewer already live, and I'm going to send the scripts to DCSC as well.
okay.
Right. So right now, even when you hover on that, because the hyperlink is not filled, it's not going to respond, right? So now we have a method. There's several ways. First of all, which field does your is the tie sheet name is located? So if you go scroll all the way to the right, you may have to freeze that field, Lata. The hyperlink field, and then the field that it needs to be populated in order to get the hyperlink on there, which
The
is
file
the
name.
file name field. Okay, so freeze that one also. Okay,
So
so
I don't even think they have a script for tie points. They just have legal points, track
le-
maps, parcel maps, record survey, and cadastral.
yeah, we have it in attribute assistant right now, right, Lata?
Yeah, but there are ties here given. That's why we
That's
went
why we
into.
did it. Yeah, that's why we set
Yeah.
up on the attribute
Yeah,
assistant.
I asked. I said, "You guys have any more?" Because it seems like I recall more than what the calculations are. So
Yeah.
Okay. As long as this tie field name is populated, if you go ahead and I selected this one, you go ahead and run. Okay, I have to be in an edit session, so let's start editing. Because this is the attribute change we are making. So we have to start editing. That's okay. So we selected that particular one and say run a manual rule.
Okay.
As soon as I click that, you see this populated. Now, if I take my mouse over with this icon, that brings up that particular tie sheet.
Nice.
Ted, you can
yeah,
technically run that on your entire layer and you'll be ready. But going forward, as you
yeah, but I
keep
don't. So what do you mean? You're saying I should just select all the data and run it manually?
no, you can select all your features and then run this tool on that, and instead of your script, if you don't have a script, that is. So that's what I meant.
Yeah. We haven't gotten anything from them. So
Yeah.
but see, this is one of those ones that this is one of the two. There's the D numbers, and then here's these ties where you just have a single number, where it's
Right.
we have. This is for Cadastral to understand. It would be nice. We wouldn't have to do this folder path where it says path equals ties if we didn't have two document links that just have numbers. I don't know what the other one that ties competes with, but there's two. Ties.
The
There's one.
improvement.
What
Yeah.
was that?
Improvement
There's a one.
plans.
Yeah, there's a 14900, or let's say there's a 53. There's a 53.pdf that's in ties, and there's a 53.pdf that's in improvement plans. Just like we have D for Ds, we have a D39 for a D, and we have a D39 for a storm document. This is true. Everything should be unique.
Yeah, Ted, but don't you agree that this problem was already solved with the original Academy? And I don't know why we're having to revisit this same problem again.
Yeah, well, it comes down to there's a document linking application built into Academy. It was solved there, but they probably solved it the same way we're doing it here. They
Let's
probably have a path equals ties that points to this directory for ties for 14900. My point is if we had everything unique, we would just have it HTTP up to 14900.pdf. We wouldn't even need the ampersand path equals ties. So I bet Cadmy's doing it probably the exact same way that DCSE and SOMAS have come up with. My point is we wouldn't even need to go that extra path equals if everything was unique.
Okay.
so one
Go ahead,
thing.
Haritha.
Go ahead.
But we have the way we have it, so we have to deal with it. So
Okay,
so this, yeah. So I this is good. So you guys, 34,000. This took 3 hours to calculate in on the maps database.
These are just examples. We haven't done for everything.
Okay.
so
Go ahead, Haritha.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I said go ahead, Haritha. Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Let me jump in here real quick. So what we're going to do is we're going to batch calculate all this stuff for Esmond and Doug. However, as part of DCSE's work, they're going to come in through attribute roles as they're demonstrating and saying, okay, I'm going to select this. I need to populate. Now, what we do need to know, though, is we still need to have a path that uploads that to Laserfish, ultimately. So that's something, that's a process that we've only loaded to Laserfish what's existing. We haven't loaded to Laserfish what's new. And so their process will populate it like it's there, but it may not be there because it hasn't been uploaded yet.
Lata, let's try
Yeah.
type point. Let's
Let's do a new type point
Yeah.
right next here.
Yeah, we just want to show you an example what happens when you create a new type point. Okay, so let's assume that you're creating a new type point, and then we'll give the same file name that's there so that it's just easier for us to pull up right now because we don't know what else is not in
There
Laserfish.
you passed it. You
I
passed it.
passed it, right?
Do a search at the top. See the
Okay.
search? No, to the right. Yeah, that makes it easier. Enter. Yeah.
Okay. Let's put it, just for example, I'm going to put it here.
Okay.
So see, it already populated right now, but what we need is,
You
it's
need to give
missing,
the file name.
need the file name. So as we enter the file name,
It's up there,
I
Lata,
think
right?
it froze here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give the 14,900.
898.
Oh, 898? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
either
let's
way.
open different one. Okay.
Just to show you, but in reality you would probably have a newer file name and everything. This, what it is doing is it is assuming that if you say okay right now, yeah,
Okay.
go and check the
Let's,
attributes again, Lata.
for the new one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's change the attribute to, okay, I thought I had it for change attribute as well. Let me quickly double check.
Or we can do a manual run right now. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, open it, open the dynamic values.
Man, you're making it so you're making it really challenging. Move Pro. We got to rebuild every one of these things.
Manual attribute changes there. Okay, let's do a save.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go back to the type point.
You may just need to run it manually again so that and that's the workflow we have to give, because there are two steps here in creating that hyperlink. There are two lines of code that run in there, so you may have to just run it.
Yeah, but until we actually upload it to Laserfish, it doesn't really matter. So I mean,
Yeah.
you put the path in. We have to come up with that process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this should be populated first. Since it was missing, it didn't bring in that. Now let's go ahead and do this manual. Now you see that it appended with that
Mm-hmm.
the file name here. So now if you go ahead and click on this, that should open up the other one, which is the
14899. That's what you get.
899 TIFF here.
So what this addresses is how you link to existing Laserfish documents. It does not really address how you load it to them. And I know that maybe from CADME you were actually loading to your document management system, right? You were loading documents in there.
Yeah. We have to come up with that same process internally.
That's your Laserfish.
Yeah, that's right.
It's done on the Laserfish side,
Yep.
unless or Laserfish.
Latha,
Go
I
ahead.
have a quick
Yes.
question for Latha. Let's say once you're editing that point, are you able to populate the street and both street and cross street? Because I saw that on the attribute table.
Yes. What happened is it's looking for the parcels. Parcels doesn't have right now, not parcel, the street center line, right? So it should populate from the street center line, which is here. So
Did you set it to automatically populate, Lata, or no?
I said to populate from the
The type point.
street. Yeah. I guess it's not, the street name is not enabled here. It's false right now.
Okay, can you
So
make
I
it
can
true?
enable it. Yeah, let me.
Do it on manual at least for now, and then
Okay.
And now she's going to do her magic. So you're going to be able to select that point, and then what you're saying is we're going to be able to just have street name calculate and then cross street calculate or whatever it may be.
Okay, it's going to be, which street is this one? This one? No.
there's two streets
So
there.
it's going
Which
to be,
street do you go? Do you have a convention of like, is it okay to have anything for the street and anything else for the cross street? Is that correct?
Doug.
It should be you shouldn't, in this case, like as the intersection that you chose, you probably have a
yeah,
construction center line, and that's why you're seeing two, but usually you have one center line, and so you would only have one intersection instead of four here, because Lake Point Drive is for the south, north is Buchanan, and whatever goes northeast and southwest is Indiana Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
that's why it's kind of having you choose multiple, and maybe that's why it's having a problem. But if you only had two streets, it would probably populate, right?
Yeah, it will populate. If you think that it's not correct, then you have to manually change it to a different street. It will try and pick
Right
that.
now, you didn't enable it. That's one thing to
Yeah,
say.
right now it's not enabled. I'll show it enabled. For let me change this to. Let me stop editing. Okay, I don't have sufficient permission in this version. Okay.
Can you change it to the to a different version and work with it for now?
Yeah, I have to change it, but it should populate the streets. I will make that permission come from the other one.
Cash, was there any progress?
Yeah, so there is progress. It's almost done. It looks like it's getting really close.
Okay. Can Lata, do you want to do this right now or do you want to do it later and then because we wanted
Yeah,
to
I
talk
can.
about document linking right now. So
Yeah, let's show this one. Is it the second one you want to show?
yeah. So
Okay.
you see a lot of these are like any lot line adjustment and everything you have there. This is going to be complicated getting the attribute assistant to work with it. So we're trying, but what's going to happen is this is a feature class in which you have all the subtypes, and depending on the subtype, it needs to go and point to the path. So for that reason, I mean, if we don't need to put a path in here, you're going to be okay. But the deeds are the complicated ones here because deeds have not only a path but also a subpath after that, like the deed number so and so to so and so. Um, it's really it's sort of deeds are unreachable from here, if I may say, if you don't use the correct path and subpath. And in that aspect, it becomes a little bit difficult to automate it in the attribute assistant. But we'll show you what we have so far. Um, as far as the linking goes, it just works, and we can document how to get it, how to get the hyperlink in there properly. But in the end, y- it can be automated, but it just takes time to do that. Okay. So Lata, do you want to show us some of these examples?
Yes. So right now it works for deeds is a question, so it doesn't work. It works for lot line. Let me go for a lot line example. So any lot line here, pan. So if I change to this one, see the hyperlink is already there, and you select and it works. Okay, since I already populated, let's go to a new one. And new one with the lot line. Somehow the record, okay,
That
this is
doesn't
the one we are
happen.
looking for.
Yeah.
Is it possible to turn off the attribute assistant to where it doesn't do the path at first? It forces the person to fill out the document number first, and then after that gets filled, almost to do a check. If this field's populated, go ahead and put the path in. If it's not calculated, don't put the path in.
Yeah, correct. That's what I need to implement because it was there for the new ones. I have to do that. If it's null, then don't do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Mhm. So for this one, we have this here. So let me go ahead and run a manual rule on it. Oh, I have to start editing. Keep.
So I'll probably take Cadastral down about. If I start electric at 9, I'm hoping to get to Cadastral around 3. And I'll put it
Um,
back.
while you're calculating that, the parcel fabric point null subtype, Ted, would you be able to do that too?
The what?
The parcel fabric point subtype is null.
Oh, you want a full calculation to call it like 1 or whatever, right?
Right.
Yeah. Just tell me what I need to do when I take it down. I'm taking it down to just do these calcs, but I
Yeah,
can do that as well.
might as well.
I don't want to clutter up the versioning world.
Yeah, it's better to do it on the because right now we did create we went and removed some of those topology rules just meant for parcels because parcel fabric handles that, but we
Yeah.
still get that message. And
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Send me an exact email on what I need to do, and I'll do it tomorrow.
Okay. So Lata, you ran that?
Yeah, some reason it's not working. So let me look at that.
So Ezra and Doug, these are loaded to PW Survey. Do you guys handle that, or is that something that Bruce was doing?
Bruce was doing all that.
Yeah, Bruce hasn't come into work in 6 months because of COVID.
We need to uncovid him, same
I
as
know.
you
We
and
actually
everybody
got-
else.
We allow him to remote in. He just hasn't returned any of my emails for 6 months. It's getting
Yeah,
close to the point where he may not be here.
we need everybody to come back to work.
Yeah, he keeps dismissing my
Yeah,
emails.
IT department, GIS department, come on back. We got
All of IT.
we got a cozy
We're here.
warm spot for you. I know Ken's here. I see him.
You see him walking. That's why we're going to Hawaii with him in 2 weeks?
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun.
The whole process of getting the documents onto the website in Laserfish was kind of convoluted before because we had to make multiple copies and do that kind of thing. Without having to do that, I don't believe it's going to have to go through Broderick anymore. That once Eswin and I get the documents in, then we can figure out a way to
Yeah,
get those in.
now
So
we're going straight from, they're coming in as PDF, and we almost need to have a process that kicks it to Laserfish and PW Survey as the PDF file directly.
Yeah, we're getting the PDFs, we're getting the scanned documents, and it was pretty convoluted on how it finally got to the website. So once Eswin and I get it, we can instantaneously get it to the website, and then when we draft it in, we can create that link. So I believe that whole process of it going, Roderick was getting it, and then he was doing some kind of magic to it to create it into a TIFF, and then he'd send those over to Bruce, and never was there a process to check and see that once the process got
So you guys get the PDFs from the outside, and then you place them in a folder.
We used to hand
there was a
those.
compression.
We used to hand those off to Broderick, and Broderick had to clean up some of the spots on them, and so he would spend some time doing that, and then he would convert it to a TIFF, and so then he'd give the PDF and the TIFF to Bruce, and then Bruce would upload it. But there was never anybody that went back in and made sure the link was that Eswin and I created, that the link was attached to anything. So we have links that aren't attached to stuff. There was never a formal process, or if there was a formal process, it got lost. So
Ted, so what happened is that Cadme can only take PDFs. TIFFs in a certain compression.
No, I understand that.
Right. So that's why we needed additional staff. But now that we're up to date, let's say, we can just go from the city clerk straight to the website if possible.
So the city clerk gets them in as PDF. They put them in some directory, or?
Yes, they have them in a Laserfish directory up there in their servers, and then we download the PDF right now, and then edit whatever whatever edits needs to be done, and then we would hand them off to Broderick because they needed to have that compression ratio. But now that we don't, we can just go straight from that PDF over to our server. We can send them directly to our IT guy if that's what you guys want to do, or have some sort of link from the city clerk for all deeds directly. But the difference is that.
Does every one of these legal documents go to the city clerk?
No. Deeds, deed outs, and covenants and agreements, but some covenants don't necessarily make it to the city clerk. And those for our WQMPs come directly to us. Those are covenants and agreements for WQMP.
Yeah, so we almost need to. If I were you, I'd reach out
Mhm.
to CJ and say, okay, CJ, we need to flush out the workflow to populate the new legal documents.
Right, but I think that that's going to happen once this whole conversion is completely done, right?
Yeah, it is,
So
but
we can,
we can start the conversation now.
yeah, because you know,
Because you guys might be editing in 2 weeks,
we hope so.
or we'll still be waiting on Cash to get that join to happen in 2 weeks.
It just
So
finished.
hopefully you guys will be editing in like 2 weeks.
It just finished.
Yeah, it just finished.
Okay, can we switch to Cash
Then we need to
then?
worry about it.
Okay, let's go, Cash. Let's switch to your computer. Let's see.
Okay.
Okay, let's see.
Lata
where are
will come
we?
back to you.
Yeah, sure. Mhm.
Okay. Mhm. Okay, there we go. So yeah, basically, it just finished doing what it was doing and pasted all the lines. And then over here you see, it has the new parcel. You see there, that's an easement or a right of way. So you would have to go and change that to whatever you would change it to. Let's see. So yeah, it's got the tracking going on. And so yeah, you could either go through this top to bottom from start to finish and just do it all at once, or you could just come back and select, your track map boundary and, go in there and edit all that data there. So yeah, like your lines are here, you could change those. Whatever type they are.
Okay. It looks easy.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. It's just like a matter of busy work of going through and, updating the APN and things like that, because the APN's not there or the name's not there. So assessor book.
Can you show the APN naming tool? Yeah. Is that what somebody?
Oh, to name all of these?
Yeah, there's the APN naming tool, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could so you could go through and name these parcels. If you click this,
Okay.
You could come through here and name all of them at once, or portions of them. Let's just say you wanted to stop there. And, double click, and you could do, starting parcel number. Let's just say parcel number 1 in increments of 1. But just the way that the survey plans look and the way that they work, I don't know if this is going to be a useful tool for you guys, because you might have like a 190 over here, and then a 194, and then a 197, and then a 199, and then it might not be exactly.
So for the prefix, I'd put literally 102 351 and then increment the number, and that's actually I'm going to put the book, the page, the block, and the first value within which is always 0, and then just do that's how the prefix works.
Yeah, so that can be your prefix, and then you would just go through and update all of the.
If you did a starting parcel number, would you be able to type in 01 for the starting parcel, and then it would go to 02, or would you just be able to type in 1?
Really, just based on the survey plan. Like I would start with that first one on the survey plan that you want to start with. So the very first one, or you could just do it in like rows. You could do this row.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Will it allow you to insert a 01, because you may have a 01. You're not going to have just a 1. So a 1 would be. Is it going to increment 01 to be 02, 03, 04, 05, or do you actually put the 0 in the prefix and just start with 1?
So you could just put it in the starting parcel number as 01. You need to put it in the prefix. Yeah. So whatever you want it to begin with, it needs to definitely be in the prefix first. And then you would do your increments
Cash,
here. That makes sense.
the parcel sequence naming, is this for the lot numbers or the assessor's numbers, or is it both? Is this or does this tool knock out both?
So it's just for like the name.
It can
Okay,
be wherever
just
you want it
the
to,
lot number.
right? Oh, when you run this, is this already hard coded to only populate one field?
Yeah, so that's why I recommend going down the line and doing it, manually, or we write a script to do it, because looking at this, it's just going to update we can look at it.
But this should still work. This can still do record of survey and track maps. You just got to play around with how you define the prefix and the suffix. But it's all this parcel sequence naming is hard coded to populate the name field. The name field is the standard.
Yeah.
And then you ultimately do an attribute assistant rule to say, oh, if it's parcel number somehow, then calculate APN to equal that parcel number.
Exactly. Yeah, you would have to, configure that before it would, populate any other fields.
So you automatically number here, and then the name field gets populated, and then that needs to be transferred to the APN field. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think you use this tool to populate name, and then you have attribute assistant to populate, calculate APN. You'd have to do some sort of condition in there to check that it's an APN and not a track map. So, or a legal or record survey or whatever.
I think we can say if it is a tax parcel, then do it. If not, then don't do it, like that.
Yeah.
Right, Lata?
Yep. And for Esmond and Doug, you guys would just break it up by, if it's, I don't think, I don't know. It'd be interesting. We'll have to test that out. Will it allow you to put in a 0-1 and go from 0-1 all the way up to 3-5? Or does it need you to go 1 and 1 will go to 25? You see what I'm saying? Basically, most times you don't, when you do an integer, I don't know if it's an integer field, but 0-1 shows up in a text field. 0-1 doesn't show up in an integer field. Only 1 shows up. So you may have to prefix it with the 0 part between 0-1 and 0-9. So you could do a parcel sequence naming from 0-1 to 0-9, and then have to change your starting number, your starting prefix, to go from 10 to 99 at that point.
Okay, I see.
That's what it does.
Yeah, the time that you guys have taken to talk about it, we would have had them numbered.
Yeah, well, just wait till you guys
We
get
agree,
like
but
500.
yeah, if you have a lot of them to be done, I understand you know. But
I would say that we'd probably use this to get all of them in there like Cash is doing, and then we'd go back and edit the ones that didn't have a 0 in the right place.
Yeah.
So that would expedite it. It may not be perfect, but it is going to expedite the process.
If we look at the field, the field type on the name, it's a text.
So you could do a 0-1 at that point then.
Yeah.
Because the map numbers aren't going to have that 0-1 like the actual numbers that we use, like lot 1, lot 2, lot 3, lot 4, lot 5. So we would, or parcel 1, parcel 2. Excuse me.
So that would be another thing. So if parcel name only works with name, is it even conceptual we could use Viper? Can we use other tools to interface with Parcel Fabric?
It depends. It depends. If you like what GeoCortex or what type of tool is that?
I'm thinking ViperPin. ViperPin is it's an SDK item from Esri that does it preceded the ViperPin came from SnakePin. SnakePin, it was built by a guy named Sean Jones. Ultimately, those tools were the forefathers to the parcel renamer.
Oh, okay. It'd be worth trying. I'm not really familiar with that though.
Because with the ViperPin, you do the parcel renamer for the name field, but if there were other fields that you guys wanted to do that increment, we could probably try to tie that in.
Okay, I think that with this, Cash, are you done showing this renaming, parcel renaming? Then we need to move on to the other topics and see what else we need to address, right? So,
Yeah.
okay,
So yeah, and then you could go in and delete whichever ones that you didn't want. Like if there's line work that you don't want, you can go and delete that as well. If you
let's see how we handle the easement part, because the easement part needs to be cleaned up at this point, right?
Yeah. So would you guys want to, like, what part of the easement would we want to delete? As far as
So,
deleting, Haritha, are you asking me or Don?
yeah, I'm
And that's,
asking because right now you see the parcel in the parcel fabric. You need to have the complete parcel, and then the easement comes in as a line or and a polygon on the top of that, right? So you can technically go back to your CAD drawing, select those lines that make up the easement line, and populate that layer. Do you have the easement layer here, Cash?
it is. Let's see. We have construction lines. We have. Um, which
Maybe
layer,
not.
Haritha?
Maybe
Oh,
not. I can. Yeah, it's probably not in here, but it's just an easement layer, and I'll show how to create easement lines on the other map or on the others, like when Lata connects to it. But here, how do we make sure that? So Doug and Aswin, confirm if me or correct me if I'm wrong, but you do not want this line. This parcel needs to be a complete whole parcel here, right? You cannot have this break thing going on like this. It
Correct.
needs to go all the way from this point here to that point there, correct?
Yes.
And then
yeah.
like this. So how do
So
we
we
clean that up,
so
Cash?
we would want to go in and delete those lines. So these lines we would go in and delete these. Let's see. So in our line work,
Can you unselect everything for a minute, because it's all like everything selected and it's hard to see. Yeah.
okay. So then we would want to go in, and select these lines. Hold on. Let's do part selection. No, let's just look. That's the parcel. So you see what it did, parcel. So those would have to be merged, and that's the entire plan. So
So we got two easements going on there. We've got a 3-foot easement for sidewalk, and then underneath that we have a 6-foot easement for public utilities. So those are those two lines. So
yeah.
one, there's halfway. So
And
the northerly one.
Sorry.
The northerly one is going to be the 3-foot easement for sidewalk, and the southerly one is going to be the 6-foot easement for public utilities.
Okay. And you just want the lines removed from the center. Is that correct?
But that is an easement line. That's a 3-foot easement line from the right of way here on the northerly line south 3 feet. That's a sidewalk, and then from the northerly line 6 feet down, that's a public utilities easement.
Yeah. In the parcel fabric data, parcels are complete parcels. They're not. The easements are being shown on the easement layer, correct? So in your parcels itself, you're not saying that you're not recognizing the easement in the parcels, because there is no type of
the parcel ownership goes all the way to that northerly line.
Right. So the tax parcel that you have with a specific APN needs to go all the way to that northerly line. So it needs. So right now it needs to be merged. If in the CAD drawing you had the easement lines on a separate layer, then you wouldn't be and the parcel lines on a separate layer, you would just get in the parcels, and this whole work would have been like easier. You wouldn't need to do this merging. Okay. Do you want us to show how we get the easement lines and the street center lines from the CAD drawing into the respective layers in your parcel fabric? That's something that we need to do, right? Okay.
Yes, please.
So Lata, do you have that ready on that? Because those layers are showing up on that map there.
Yes.
Okay.
The map is there.
Okay. So can I switch to you to be the
Correct.
presenter? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And also let's go bring in the CAD drawing. We'll probably, well, we could do it even on Esvin or Doug's machine actually, because they will get the chance to practice georeferencing the CAD drawing. Would anybody agree with that, or what do you think, Esvin, Doug?
I think that we're running out of time, but I think that, let's say, as far as the workflow is concerned, now knowing what it's doing, it's probably going to be better if we just bring in line work that show 100% fee title, like all of the assessors lines, not in not any easements, so that once that's done, then we can add easements in ArcGIS instead of having to merge it and do all this stuff. That'd probably be easier.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
So if say for example your CAD drawing consisted of like, or on a separate layer you had only the parcel lines, you would do exactly what Cache has done, but only select the parcel lines in that specific layer, right? Now
Right.
we can show you how to bring in the easements here. Um, in that area, it's just a copy and then paste it into this CAD, these layers once you have the CAD drawing georeferenced. So would you like to look at that right here?
Sure. If you can show us, that'll be fine.
Okay. Lata, do I have keyboard and mouse from you? Okay, let me ask you. Okay. So this, uh, let's bring in the CAD drawing again. We're kind of like repeating the process, right? So we need to actually go to that location of subdivision. Lata, is there a CAD drawing? That CAD drawing is present here. So let's first go to that subdivision area. Does anybody know which, what was the street intersections?
Streeter and Rochester Street and Streeter Ave. Rochester Street, Streeter.
Streeter in Sierra is also.
Yeah.
You're right there. You got it.
If we had followed cache instructions, and we would have gotten those parcels here. Just because, in the interest of time, what I would like to show is how we add the CAD drawing and bring in the layers from CAD drawing. um, Cash, would you be able to send us the CAD drawing so that we can bring it, because you already
Sure.
georeferenced? Or
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
okay, maybe give it to, email it to Lata, and Lata place it here so that we can bring it in.
Yeah, sure. Let me grab that real fast.
Mhm. With the world file and everything,
All that.
the PRJ projection file.
Yeah.
Um, Doug and Eswin, are you fairly comfortable with creating new point features and those kind of things, right?
Yeah, they're pretty straightforward. The way that you guys made it is just click on the item that you want and
And
place it.
click. Yeah. Now, if you are particular about, having it placed at a certain feet or something, do you have any requirement like that anytime? Not anywhere within a parcel, for example, but if you had to place something relative to something else, is that something that you do?
That's only, we have that right now, but that's only for address points so that it looks uniform.
Okay. So have you looked at, have you, there is a process to do that, and I can show that to you real quickly while Oh well, actually Lata is transferring the file. There is this tool.
No, go ahead. Yeah,
Okay.
I not
So
yet
for
received.
example, you were to go and take this, and you can say point at the end of a line, right? And you know you're supposed to be like 50 feet from this edge over here.
Hmm.
Um, and you can always, or from this, let me see, from this edge here, right? So you can say, okay, give me, um, you can say snap to the feature. You can start off there, but you're not placing the address there, but you're saying, okay, give me a length of 50 feet, and you're parallel to that, and it puts something at 50 feet, and then we want to go perpendicular inside. So then we say, okay, make it perpendicular to that now. Oh, actually, I should have clicked. Let me go 20 feet in here. Uh, enter. I have to hit enter after I place that. So 20 feet in there, and then parallel to that. So you can go that way or this way, right? Give a right click again, and then say length, and then 50, and then hit enter. And that's where, if that's where you want to place your address point, you're done. You can give a right click and then say finish sketch, and that's where your address point gets created.
Okay.
This
Easy.
is precise placements using this point at the end of the line. Okay. If you
Okay.
went for this, it's free placement anywhere. If you went for this, you can precisely place it exact, wherever it needs to be. So that was one thing we wanted to show.
Let
Cover.
me copy the CAD drawing.
Okay,
One
yeah.
second.
Get the CAD drawing, please.
Let's see if it works. Okay, so that's the folder. Okay, Rita, you want to add it?
Yeah, go ahead and add it. Okay, so you find all of those lines in there. It is very simple to edit in your data right now. I mean, I'll just make sure that I'm in the right version and everything, right? I don't want to. So we are in a version. And so I'm going to go here, and all of those lines that make up um, the easements. So you can always go and select with this tool here. Okay. Now, all of them are in the same layer, I think. Let's see what got selected. So parcels got selected. We don't want that. We got a polygon that got selected. We don't want that. All we want is that line. Is that your easement line?
That's one
Yes.
of them. And then there's another one right above it and right below it on that little, right in between those two.
But let's do
Yeah.
that one first. Let's see
Okay.
what it does.
Okay, sure. So all you need to do is go to edit and then copy, and then you go to edit and then say paste. And when you say paste, it's asking you to choose a line. Now, easement line being one of them. Now, you know the subtype. Which one would it be? The one inside.
It's a
Is it?
utility.
It's a utility.
Utility.
So you say utility and say okay. And then it gets created with some annotation. It's got feature linked annotation with it. And you can fill in any other attributes or just say okay and do those attributes later. Let's remove that and let's go back here and then turn this off. There you go. So that's your utility easement. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now
So
the
then when you
annotations.
so then when you create the parcel fabric, that's we're not going to have to worry about cleaning that up because we've already got it out of the way, and it's just going to create the lots.
Yeah, what you need to do in parcel fabric in your CAD drawing, you have to put them on a separate layer. Then it's easy. You only copy the parcels and then bring them over. Otherwise, you'll have to select manually and then bring them over. So when Cash brought in the lines, he brought in everything, right?
Yeah.
So instead of that, you would only select bring in the parcel lines, and that would make things easier for you. Um,
Yep.
then the other
Yeah, if
thing.
you
Mhm.
bring things in
Go
by
ahead.
type, yeah, exactly. If you were to bring things in by the type, like the utilities at once, and then bring in that would make it faster and easier. And then you could just knock out one type at a time.
Right. Okay. So this was the easement layer, right? Now just remember your easement is it's not really the polygon isn't in here yet, right? You only have the lines there for
Yep.
easements. Okay. So um, there's different ways to come up with the polygon. Are you planning to actually maintain the polygon layer, like going forward, create the polygon layer?
Ted, was the future to be get the
Yeah. Yeah. So
easement
the
lines
plan
in
is
and then convert easement lines to polygons so that they stay with the fabric?
as what was relayed to us is that we wanted easements in the fabric, but we didn't have a polygon data set. So until we have a full polygon data set, we can't even conceptualize doing that. And so I don't really know how long it's going to take for that to happen. That might be like 2 years. It might be 50 years. My plan is that we'll be in the Pro Fabric in the next 8 months. So what we do, we'll handle it over there. That's why it's important to have. That's why I like the rule of having a polygon and a line. Like you guys removed the polygon rule from easements, but if we have enclosed easement lines, we can construct polygons from those easement lines.
And then we won't have to go back and fix the ones that are moving forward starting today with our
Like
drafting.
literally, like that could be like a project I could work on when I have time to say, okay, I'm going to take these easements and I'm going to generate polygons from them using the topology. But GCSE removed that polygon boundary, and I was just going to add it back. But you guys could just add it back too.
Yep.
Not you guys, meaning GCSE.
Okay, in this one here, this line here, right? This is, you said it's the utility easement.
Yep.
What does this one here defines your, what does
That's
that?
that's the edge of the private street. So that's the private street right of way line.
Okay, but where's the other easement? This one here?
That one there. That's a sidewalk easement. And that's not to the city. That's a privately reserved sidewalk easement so that the neighbors can walk on the other neighbor's property without getting in trouble. So that's
Right.
not to the city. That's a private easement.
Okay. Should this also come to your easement layer? Do you have it in your easement layer or you don't? I mean, should you bring
I
it
don't
up?
know. I don't know if we have private. We don't usually show private easements. I don't think, but having it on there would be fine because somebody's going to call and ask at some point in time, and we would probably want to show it.
Right. Now, if you were to really digitize easements as a polygon, right? Would you be digitizing just this area? And let me show you actually while we're here.
We can't have polygons crossing over property lines.
That's what
Correct.
it. So
So these would be individual polygons on the north of each person's property, 3 feet by the width of the property. So
exactly. So sorry, you can always create one polygon and then split it up into several parts and then change their attributes depending on what it is. So
it'll allow us to take that, turn it into a polygon, and then say wherever you're crossing a line, create a separate polygon from that line.
yeah, Yeah, you'd be able to do that.
That would that would expedite the process for sure.
Right. So for example, we take this easement line, right? Uh, easement line, and then you want the it runs till here, correct? The utility easement runs from here to here, correct?
Easement line, yeah, runs right down the property line. So we got the 6-foot one, which is a 6-foot by property width, and then you've got on top of that, you've got a private easement. So you've got an easement on top of an easement, and I'm not sure how
Right. Let me
it's going
do
to
it
be like
this
that.
way. There is a little bit of like a thing that you can do. What you can do is you can edit and then I'll see if this is even. I just want to make sure that we have the easement polygon turned on here. So I will go down to the layers here. There it is. It's actually turned off right now, but I'll turn it on. Um, so that's the easement polygon that you see here, right? You can digitize them one by one, or you can, right now I'm going to the interior, which is not the easement, but we will do an offset on that, a buffer on that, right? So you can, um, there is a little bit of process. What I intend to do was like copy and paste it and then make a buffer around it and then cut it out like a donut hole. That's what I thought. But Ted, if you think that that gets too complicated, the easiest way would be just say, okay, this is the utility easement, right? Go here, click, you know, this is the edge of the line here. You can draft it out if you have the distances and bearings, but find that and then go and place. Okay, so that's one way. And as soon as we do it, though, you can get the attributes, but it's going to be a little bit tricky because you can probably get the attributes automatically from the underlying parcels. Lata, you have to correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But that's your easement, correct?
That's the utility easement. That's the size of it, 6 feet by property width.
Right. So that's the utility easement.
Mhm.
And okay, it just kind of like zoomed out. 1 second. Okay, so there's several ways to generate the easement. So this is one way that you saw, like digitizing it manually. The other way was to go back here and then select the, uh, no, it didn't actually, that's a line. So you go and select here, make sure that your easement line is the only one selected, right? I think,
See, in this, it's going to be kind of convoluted because it comes down and then it goes up northwest, and then each one of these parcels is that rectangle. So then it's going to come back, and then there's a little
okay,
piece of that small triangle over there to the
yeah,
westerly portion of the property. So it gets a little.
here, right?
That area right there is.
It's not an easement for
That's
this one, but
part
for
of
the,
lot. That's part of lot O with no easement on it.
okay, okay. Yeah, so this is going to be tricky. I mean, you can generate this automatically. There's several ways, like you can cut out like a donut or something, but the other option is to just draw this rectangle all the way from here to there and then intersect it here, split it out. So there's several ways, but you do need to keep track of this individually. This one, as soon as you create it, you can grab the, I think, what's the attributes on the easements? Let's see. These attributes show up over here, and you can go and see. I'm just thinking, is there any parcel related information that gets on there? then
if we're adding information like that, we'd probably say the lot number is 6 and add the 6-foot utility easement over lot such and such. If we're going to separate it into polygons, and then it'll be related to the lot that it's sitting on.
okay,
It might be
where
time consuming, but then that data will be. You could search for that data now for
right,
the map book and the track number and the lot number.
I'm thinking record doc ID is an important attribute that you will fill in, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is the feature reference. Is this the field that ties the parcels to that?
The feature reference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's.
Okay, let me actually open up some of the. Well, there
That's
is nothing in easement poly right now. Correct.
That's the field that references the feature.
Which feature? The
What
parcel?
feature? The feature that you're selected on. The feature reference is the reference that directs to the feature. It's a feature reference.
Are you kidding?
So would we put the map number there, or would we put an easement type there, or what would be the what would we put in that category as a name?
Right.
So what is that easement reference?
It's a 6-foot utility easement that was created by the map.
So I assume you have probably a domain on easement. I haven't looked at this data, but well, to this detail, easement group is probably broken up by a bunch of different ones. I would imagine the feature reference is probably a more descriptive term that explains the easement.
And then it would be a public utility easement.
6-foot utility easement. Find out, I guess, how many characters is the easement feature reference? To click on it, click on feature reference.
Oh.
Yeah, and then just say, oops, okay. Click on feature reference, and what is the? It's 16. So can we fit what you just said in there? I mean,
utility easement would fit.
So we already got utility as part of the easement group. So I would say almost you want to, what does it reference as a more detailed descriptive? That's how I would read it. But I think to some extent it's going to come back to, we've never had this before. So we're just kind of figure it out.
Okay.
Really.
Yeah, that's fine, because I was trying to look for examples and I realized this is a new feature class. So in any case, this is how you can digitize the easements. You can bring them in from CAD, and if you had a CAD polygon for each easement, you could bring it in from there. That's fine. But right now, just wanted to show you how the easement line work goes. Now, the same thing with the street center lines, right? We have this line up here, which is the right of way. This is a street center line here, and you need to have it in the layer called street center line. So you take these lines. Wait, I got many selected, so always make sure that you have selected exactly that one, and you can actually select more than one of these.
Now we have a private street center line category, don't we?
Yeah, we do, I believe. Let me select these.
Shift, you're in the shift.
Yeah, I'm holding shift key. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to remove these other annexation and city limits and those layers, right? We just have that and just those 3 lines, and edit and then copy and edit and then paste. And make sure that you're not in the easement, but you are, well, there's street center line there. Okay. This is not the parcel fabric one, but this is the other street center line. So
hey everyone, I hate to interrupt. I have to step out and take my dog to the vet for a quick appointment. He has to have a tooth pulled. So I will be back and I'm available, but I just wanted to let everybody know. Thanks so much. And I'm going to go ahead and step out and leave the meeting.
Okay.
All right. Thanks everyone.
okay, thank you.
Is there a way to populate this into the private? It only allows you to paste right into the the parent of the street center line, not into the subtype? Or is there no subtype for street
There
center line?
wasn't a subtype. So let's bring it in and then see what we can do. So we just brought it in. I'll say okay over here, but we'll go and look at the attributes in here. And so that's the street center line, and the function class I believe would have been the one
Owner tells is a private or city.
owner, owned by private, right? Maintained by private.
Private, yeah.
Okay. And you can say conversion method, you got it from AutoCAD, right?
Yeah.
Source document would be your plan information and all. What else I'm looking for? Okay, I think that's, you can give a street name, all those things.
Oh, you guys are gonna have so much fun doing all these edits, Doug and Esmond.
Okay, so I'm going
I already am.
Have you started looking at sewer yet, or storm?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to stop editing and let me save edits. Okay. One thing I don't know if we have covered it before, but I quickly wanted to tell you is that whenever you save your edits are all in this version, right? We are in a version. What we do is something called reconcile. So you have to be actually in editing for that, edit features. And you have to be doing something called reconcile. And your reconcile you're doing by, and this is going to the parent version. Now, should I do it or not, Ted? I don't think you want to send anything to the training default at this point, right?
No.
Okay.
And you would say by row in favor of the edit version.
In favor of the edit version. And we have this in the document, by the way. Just want to tell you that this is an important step. After you finish your edits, you save your edits, and you've done your quality control too, then you do this.
Yeah, you got to do your edits, you got to go through the data reviewer stuff. You guys don't have very many checks right now for reviewer. We'll probably be adding to that. But it's almost like letting you guys focus on how to edit the data in the fabric, apply the topology, clean all that stuff up. Once you guys master that, then we'll probably follow up and look at trying to implement more QC type checks once the data gets populated. I don't want to overwhelm a bunch of null values like, oh, that field street name doesn't have anything in it. Well, we don't want to identify it as a check now, so you end up with 35,000 null values, because that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help out you guys, because you'd be like, oh my God, look at all these errors I got to clean up. So
yeah,
does that make sense?
Yeah. So this is the last step, of your editing process. So I'm going to cancel this out. If you have any questions, let us know. But we do have one more session coming up. I think we'll send you the videos of the CAD, editing workflow to you, right?
Okay.
And as far as whatever we're doing with the attribute assistant, you shouldn't have to worry. It's just going to automatically populate for you as you keep editing your data. Okay, nothing really new about that. Is there anything else that we need to, or do you have any questions at this point of time?
One thing that I was looking at is that we do have that record of survey, that RS 4928 right there in the middle of the page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what we've done by creating this subdivision on top of it is we've mapped over that. So that goes to some kind of historic font. Have we addressed that yet? Because if we wouldn't have mapped over it, then we would just leave that RS there. But we've completely mapped over that RS, so we would take that and just change the font on that to the historic font as it is in different areas. So we might want to.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. So once that record of survey becomes historic, then. And is that just for record survey, for everything?
That's for everything. So if this was a 2-lot subdivision, and it was map book, let's say 10, 12, booking page, whatever, then we would come in and we'd make that historic so that you know that underneath this map that we just mapped, there's an RS, and underneath that RS, and you can obviously tell the age of it depending on 4928 is going to be newer than 2536, and 115 is going to be newer than 4928. So we have to put that into just make some kind of historic font so that if somebody wants to
What?
And you guys can kind of define that, like what she's
well, we do want to make it. We do want to make it the same as all the rest of the historic font that has been converted by Somas.
Yeah. So we'll have to identify what that is, and then see what she's showing is you can change the color, you can make it bold, italic, underline, you can change the size, and then you can change the font from Arial to whatever else. But we got to figure out what that other is, and then you guys at that point would just tweak it.
Ideally, there would be a layer called historic annotation, and you would move it from this to that layer, and that way you can all turn it on and off at the same time. That makes it more like for an efficient workflow. If I looked at, say, if you tell what it looks like or where we might find one. Let me see.
Yeah, I agree. I think we just have, and we may not end up with it tomorrow, but this is something we should probably think about doing as a historical font layer, and then each subtype would be, one would be record and survey, one would be track maps or parcel maps. Basically, you do each subtype for within the annotation that would handle a different area.
As long as it's just changing the font type, then that's not a big deal. If it automatically changes when we switch it to the historical font layer, then that would be fantastic. If we copied it.
Yeah. I'm thinking if we could build an anno layer based on the different types of geometries you edit, you define all that within the subtype. And so when you copy into it, it should change it.
The problem is this is not a feature linked annotation. That's why when you change it to a historic, then it automatically doesn't change. That's the problem right now. But I'm trying to find an example where you might have that historic font. So is there any example that you might be able to show me?
Let me see. Let me open. I got my Academy open. Let me find something that's close to where we are. Okay, if you go about a block east until you get to Capistrano Street. I think it's this street right here. Zoom into that intersection to the south a little bit. Right in Cadme, right in between these, in this street, there's a historical parcel map. Hardman. Obviously that layer's not turned on. Parcel history.
We do have parcel history on.
No annotation, Rita. Can we go to the top and see if the group, anno group in the top?
There it is. This is what.
This is the one.
Yep.
Okay, it's been pushed to something called miscellaneous, which doesn't really tell us whether it's historic or not, right? So it goes to Britannic bold, 16 size. And the color is also different. It's like this orangish. So
when you
oh,
open
there
up
it
this
is.
one,
Okay, I got it. Sorry. There is something called miscellaneous historical text large. Okay.
And we probably have a historical text small also.
Okay. Let me actually do it this way. Let me go back to
can you
my
expand?
previous.
Can you expand miscellaneous anno
This one
in the
here.
table of contents? No, in the table of contents.
Okay, sure.
Can you right click on miscellaneous anno? Go to properties.
Mm-hmm.
No, where do I do that from? I guess go do it on the default.
Symbol
Yeah.
replacement.
We can use symbology substitution. We ultimately don't want to just see default. We want to see probably subcomponents per.
That's not no, this is not where you do it. This is for taking anything and then pushing through and changing the color of all the annotations no matter what it was originally. That's why you'll have this. This is not
Click on annotation. You click on annotation tab.
yeah. So it's okay. You're not able to see it here, but that doesn't mean you won't get it on that side. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, let me cancel this out for a second. Let's go to our bookmarks and where I have that subdivision one, right here, right? So you have this annotation. You need to move it to the other one. So what you can do is this is your annotation text, this A editor one, right? So you can actually copy this and then you can uh, paste it, but then actually it didn't seem like it copied. Sorry.
We're going to have to switch over to a team meeting about addresses here at 11:30. So Ted's going to have to be on that too.
Okay. Yeah, we'll let you know how to do this. Okay.
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 Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Harita.
And we got something next week coming up. I think CJ is going to meet up with you and see if we can push that to more towards the beginning of the week.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you,
then.
guys.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Thank you.